Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. I hope all of you are having a great week. You have made it to Friday, and, well, we're going to help you carry it out with Computer America. So, I'm your host, Ben Crossan, by the way, of course, and we have a great show playing for you today, as we have on with us a company called Needles. Not spelled exactly like noodles, but if you're confused at all about how to get there, well, computeramerica.com has the show notes where it will have a link directly to our guest website. It will have anything, whoops. Yep, there we go. So yeah, it will have anything and everything for Computer America that you could possibly need, including a link to our guest website, a link to any articles that we do for computer and technology news, and it has just so much else you can check out. Please do computeramerica.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out the social media contest. We will be giving away a brand new prize, an M720 Logitech mouse, to one of our listeners actually today on the program. It'll be a lot of fun. And then the last thing is, of course, the live video stream where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. That's right. So just another way to experience the show. Nothing, nothing mind-blowing unique about the video portion. We try to make everything, of course, as safe for radio. But hey, just another way to experience us. So with all that being said, welcome into the program, and I think we're just going to jump into our interview today. So everyone, once again, Needles. They're a company that will help you do social media advertising, because I can tell you firsthand experience, it is not the easiest thing in the world to do. And if you are not a part-time advertiser, well, you know, it's there's going to be a lot of terms and a lot of parameters that you just really don't know how to set up. So this company, they try to make it easy, they try to make it simplified, and hey, it could be just what you're looking for to jump into really, you know, billions of potential customers on social media. So here to talk with us all about the service, how it works, how it became what it is today, is Justin Hartzman. He is the CEO of Needles. And Justin, thank you for joining us here on Computer America.
Oh, Ben, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So, yeah, I'll admit, first time hearing about Needles, but I'm really looking forward to this because this seems to be, like advertising, it's always been something that, you pay large agencies for in the past, and, for television, radio, for a lot of advertising, national newspapers, things like that. It's always been on a very grand scale, but then social media, but then, the internet really kind of brought it down to the individual. They brought it down to the small business. They brought it down to, something that now everyone has to have a hand in if they want to succeed. So, I mean, it's great that you started this. Let's start out with, Justin, how did you come up with Needles? I mean, I apologize, you're CEO, maybe not the founder, but how did Needles begin?
Well, it's a good question. I am one of the 3 founders at the company, and it all came out of a year-end meeting. We ran 2 successful other internet-based businesses prior to this. We pioneered the internet brokerage business, selling websites between $1 million in EBITDA and $50 million in EBITDA to Fortune companies, private equity firms, portfolio holders, individuals who want to start or run an online business, and a web development firm where we produced high-end web businesses, applications, and things like that for other companies. And we're sitting, December 20-something, 2013, and looking to build our businesses and grow them. And right there in that meeting, I actually got a call from my wife, and she said, hey, Justin, do you see your friend Jeff? He needs an iPhone app built. And my answer was, no, I don't sit on Facebook all day. I didn't see that. She goes, well, that's what I think you do. You should be watching for those things. I said, okay, thanks, honey. And she said, I'll tag you in. I said, perfect. So she tagged me in the post. And right then and there, I messaged the gentleman. I hadn't spoken to him in 10 plus years. And it turned to a $60,000 contract for us right there and then in this meeting. And the light bulb kind of went off right there and then that people are needing things and wanting things on social media and talking about them. Why aren't companies knowing that and servicing them? So January 1 rolled around after a week of holidays, and I had one of our developers write me a little script to just watch my Facebook feed for just keywords, specific keywords, and we increased our business by 300x in the first quarter. And from that point on, that was March 2014, we said, we know what we're going to get into from now. We want to build, we were lucky enough actually to sell 2 companies back to back in 2005. And we loved that building a tech company and the culture and software. And we said, it's time to get back into what we love doing. And we started the company in March of 2014. At that time, it was a little bit different than it is today. What we were using purchase intent technology through data science and natural language processing. We were understanding conversations and picking out leads. So when someone simply said, can you recommend a great dentist? We'd understand that they're looking for a dentist. We show our user who was a dentist that lead. They'd go contact them and do whatever they did with them. So it was a simply lead delivery platform. Over time, in April 2nd of 2016, which is last year,
Right.
we pivoted our product to be a full service agency for say. We're the first robo agency to exist today. So what does that mean? We are doing the full service from beginning to end, A to Z, of the social media advertising for small businesses. So in 6 simple questions, we're able to answer or understand who they are, who they're selling to, and what is it they're selling, create 50 to 500 ads for them in real time, deliver them to the networks, target their perfect customers for them. This is all automated, by the way. There's no human interaction needed here.
Right.
Again, when someone says, my toilet's broken, what do I do? We serve them an ad for a plumber in their local area, and then we optimize our ads 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So after answering 6 basic questions, our small businesses really can just step back and say, hey guys, you do what you do best, which we do a really good job of. Let us do what we're best at, which is our jobs. And that's what we really stand for, is letting the small business do what they do best. Is that baking cakes for weddings? Is that photography of babies? Is that mortgage broker? It doesn't matter what it is. We have 200 plus different niches on our platform. You do what you're best at. We'll take care of the heavy lifting and the hard work that we're so good at on our side, which is social media advertising. And the one, I know I'm going on here, but I think it's, first of all, very passionate about this because I know it's such a big problem.
That's good.
And I'll tell you how big it is. There's 65 million small businesses on the Facebook platform currently in North America, and only 4 million of those are advertising today. So there's a huge gap of those who are and those who aren't, and that gap has to be, shrunk, because the status quo options that exist today are do it yourself, which is super difficult, and I know you mentioned that right at the beginning of the interview here. There's hundreds of different levers to be pulled at different times based on different metrics that you're looking for, even if you know what those metrics are. So that becomes very difficult, takes a long time to learn, and ends up becoming very expensive when you fail at it, which is what happens in most cases, or going to your traditional digital agency. And, at $3,000 setup fee and 25% of every dollar you're spending, that's really not an effective use of money for a small business who, on average has about $500 a month to spend on their marketing initiatives. So we said, let's draw a line in the sand. Let's be attainable to all these small businesses at $100 a month software as a service fee. They can choose whatever budget suits their needs. And we take care of everything from them after they answer their first 6 questions.
No, very, very cool. But I will say that your kind of starting out process, it seems like the platform that you were building was And I know it's only came into the nomenclature like in the past couple of years, but AI, artificial intelligence, blah blah blah. It sounds like you were starting the baby AI, and now like you call it the robo agency. Obviously, robot, automated, and artificial intelligence kind of has the same bent to it. Is there like, would you kind of draw a line between AI and what you do, or is that essentially what you've built over time? Is AI to help you with advertising?
Yeah, so we're using AI methods in the machine learning category, deep learning category, as well as natural language processing, which is the underlying technology of it. And what we're doing is analyzing a huge amount of social media data in a day, and it's really difficult to find. It's a hard problem that hadn't been solved before we got into it of intent to purchase. Only about 2% of data on social media has intent to purchase, and I'll just define that as someone having a need to buy something out there. And to identify someone who says, could you recommend a great carpenter? That's easy. That's explicit. They've said recommend. They've used the word carpenter. But what's much harder for us to understand, and where we're really setting the bar at another level, is when people say, there's 3 inches of water in my basement, what do I do? Well, if there's 3 inches of water in your basement, you probably need a plumber, some emergency services, some of those things to come in and fix that issue for you. Who is that, and who should we be putting an ad in front of your face at that time? So that's really where that underlying technology that sets us apart from just going straight to network or going to another traditional agency. They don't have that data. They don't have that power to do it. That allows us to stand out and produce better results than you would see from any of those other services.
Right. So I guess it's a good way to kind of segue, because business marketing on Facebook, we've heard all the different things from, it's complicated, it's hard, but at the same time, from what we've seen in the past couple of years, it's probably the best way to advertise, because TV, radio, magazine, newspaper, more traditional methods, like, they still exist. There's still absolutely large campaigns that go on, and you can definitely get a lot of traction doing those. But I don't think any one of those mediums, or really even a couple of those mediums put together, have the kind of potential reach that Facebook has. At one point, it's something ridiculous, like 1.3 billion monthly users or something like that. It's really insane. So, but just because you have a pool, though, my question is, just because you have a pool, is business marketing on Facebook really effective? Because some of those are ad blockers, some of those are fake accounts, some of those are blah blah blah. From what you found, from what your customers have done, is Facebook advertising worth it?
Absolutely. There's no question. But it has to be done right, and I think that's the entire part. Going out and doing it yourself is hard, as you've said, as I've mentioned a few times. If you can do it right and you can pull the right levers at the right time, or have them done for you, it is the cheapest, most effective, and most trackable way to obtain the right traffic to where you need it to go. So, for example, while we might be able to get clicks at the 17 to 55 cent range on Facebook to your website, that's generally across the board, those same clicks would be, $2 to $5 when you went to Google. Google's market has evolved over a long period of time. There's people who are really good at it, agencies that just focus on it, and because of that, there's a lot of people bidding against each other to bid those prices up. You still have a huge opportunity right now in untapped markets all across social media to get your business to them, especially because most small businesses are looking for a hyper-local location, or they're looking for statewide or multiple state, and then we deal with businesses obviously that go all the way up to national and outside of national as well. So it just depends what you're looking for. I have to say it is the most effective, the most cost efficient, and outside of a local business sending out flyers to a local area, we can actually track what's happening here. And then you have a user who's coming giving you an email address that you can market to later. They're not just blindly sending them out and seeing what the return on is. You can actually see every dollar in and every dollar back out to see what your metrics are, which is really important for someone who's looking to make a profitable campaign, not just any campaign out there.
Right. Yeah. And, like you said, you're not dealing with people who have, $90,000 a month or what have you. You're dealing with people with much more narrow, but they want to make the most out of what they have. And that's very, very important. So you mentioned a couple other social media sites here. I mean, funny that you didn't mention Google Plus, but hey, Google Plus is still out there. But no, Facebook, obviously, Twitter and Snapchat. Twitter has a pretty big usage base, despite what the numbers, despite what the stocks have said and blah blah blah. They still do have a lot of users, and you can advertise on there. Snapchat, same thing. Why this social media? Why is Facebook more effective than Twitter or Snapchat?
So there's a couple easy answers for that. First of all, we did have as part of our platform earlier Twitter, but the problem with Twitter is they haven't been to this point. I think it might be changing, and we'll relook at it. Is enough access and open ability for us to do the things that we need to do in an automated fashion. They had just roadblocks in the way. Plus, we were just finding that their campaigns, manually or automated, were not producing the type of results that we need to show for ourselves or our users. So if we're not going to do a good job, or they're not going to allow us to do a good enough job with it, it just can't be part of the mix for us at this point. Other platforms that are in their infancy, like WeChat and Snapchat, are certainly on our roadmap, but again, they need to evolve enough to provide us with the tools that will allow us to do the job for them on their behalf, and those will come. It'll just be a matter of time. So we always have our finger on the pulse and looking at what we can do. With Google, it's also part of our roadmap. We've been, speaking with them. Just came out of a meeting moments ago, actually, before we got on this phone call, of ways that we can integrate them into our platform moving forward with some of the cool products they have coming up that are specifically made for small and medium-sized businesses and local businesses alike. So we're excited to see how we can bring those to market in an automated way for our users. That's something that's definitely to be looked forward to.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So, but let's move over because we've been talking a lot about, I think, business to consumer, and that's absolutely great. But you have here that business to business advertising on Facebook has its challenges. I can really only imagine that, just like a lot of the small medium businesses that I know, Facebook is a great place to socialize. You go there, you talk to family, you talk to friends. It's a place for your social life, and to kind of reach out to other businesses. They're really not, businesses really don't sit there and kind of socialize. Businesses are there to advertise, to have an online presence, to have people contact them. They really aren't looking to contact each other. So, is Facebook strictly business to consumer, or is there a way to reach out? Is business to business possible on Facebook?
Absolutely. Listen, we're doing that. That's how we find our other agencies to work with and our larger, medium-sized businesses that we go after. The reality is, think about it for myself. I'm on Facebook, whether it's socializing for family or reestablishing connection with friends, but I also see things that come across my advertising, across my news feed, that are perfect additions for my companies, and I'll start looking at those and see if they make sense or not. So they are there. They might be there in a personal capacity, but it doesn't mean their brain is turned off to what's going on. Plus, your account managers or CIOs or the people who you're selling into, people in the marketing department, they're taking their time at work to take a little break and go using Facebook to get that reprieve. They're there to look at it. So as long as you can get your message in front of those people, which is what we try and are successfully doing, you can get to them, and it is a great place to go for B2B and B2C alike. So we don't discriminate against one or the other. We find them to be both quite lucrative.
Very, very well said. All right, so you say that there's I guess certain businesses will take would more readily take to, of course, Facebook and social media. Like, obviously, we're a radio show here at Computer America. We love connecting with our audience, and that just kind of makes sense for us. But you mentioned a couple like plumbers and and emergency services. Those are more like, well, you don't just contact a plumber to have fun. And not saying plumbers aren't fun people, but you don't really contact. Yeah. By the way, if you head on over to needles.com, you have live people, ready to message you, to talk to you. I found that's pretty cool. For being a robo agency, seeing that you do actually have, people willing to reach out and talk to you is, I'm sure, helpful to quite a number of people. So good choice on that. But I was going to say that, certain services, they just don't, kind of take readily to Facebook. So what are some of the more popular niches on your platform?
So it's a good question. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. We have over 200 different niches or industries on our platform. There's none that are over 4% of the overall pool. We see a lot of real estate agents, mortgage brokers. I'm going to bucket them in this group that we call anyone who's been in your last home to do anything in the last 2 years category. Mm-hmm. So whether it's insurance, plumbing, renovations, flooring, then we have anything that has to do with weddings and babies. So if it's, photographers or caterers or DJs, we have a lot of internet marketers, a lot of e-commerce stores. Tons of startups are using us to get to their markets, which come on whether it's a software as a service, under every different category. It's really the better question to ask, and I say this all the time, is who doesn't it work for? And to be frank with you, over the last little while, the only really niche that we found that it doesn't work well for is underwater welding.
Yeah.
So I know it's funny, but yeah, that's a hard one. No one's really talking about that they need to get their hull of their boat, I guess, welded because they ran into something. That's not a good one for us. The rest work out pretty darn well, no matter what category you're in across the board. Like I said, we have people who are selling books, people who are teaching courses, we have coaches, we have people selling surfboards, it just goes on and on and on. Anything you can think of. We have dog walkers, we have people who do arcades that come to your house for kids' parties, princesses, anything you can think of, we have on our service.
Gotcha. And yeah, so all I heard was that if you're an underwater welder, maybe flyers at the local boat yard would be your best route. But no, perfect. So what kind of return on investment can a business owner kind of expect? Because you mentioned 50 to 75 cents a click. In campaigns that we've done, we've had more, we've had less. It's to say anything is typical is kind of hard to do, but what would you say kind of return on investment that you've seen?
So I'll give you some stats because that's a tough question to ask because it depends on where you're located, your ad copy, what you're doing with those people afterwards, how many people you have competing in that local area or broadly. But what I can give you, I'm going to give you some, I call it how we stack up. And it's a slide that I use all the time when I do some presenting. And if you guys can imagine this, on the right-hand side, it says Facebook at the top. And then there's 3 numbers below that. The first one that I want to talk about is click-through rate. So these are numbers that are published by Facebook themselves. And across all their 4 million advertisers, their average click-through rate, and I'll just explain that quickly, that's the amount of people that see an ad to click on that ad, is at 0.9%. Okay? On the right-hand side of this, it says Needles at the top, which is NEEDLS.com. It's missing the E on the end on purpose, and I'll talk to you about the name after if you like where we came from.
Sure.
But the same metric, the click-through rate, our average across all of our users on our platform is 1.3%. That's a 46% greater click-through rate. That is because we're finding the right people by using our technology, and when we're creating the ads with our users' input, they are much more organic looking. They look like something that is in everyone's Facebook feed, and it doesn't look like an overproduced ad that's just glaring out at them. So because of those 2 reasons, we are 46% better at click-through rate, which translates, if you see the next line, into our CPM rate. So that's the cost per 1,000 views of your ad. Facebook's at $7.29. We are 42% greater at $4.75. That's dramatic. And that's because we have more people who see the ads and click on them, which drives down that CPM rate. So on average, they're showing a 64-cent click. On average, we're showing a 55-cent click, which includes our 10% that we charge for the services that we're doing. So it's actually lower than that. So across the board, and every year, all three of the metrics that they publish, we are dramatically beating them the way that we're doing it in an automated robo-agency fashion.
Yeah, no, that's obviously very impressive. And you give analytics. I mean, Facebook does give, you know, a lot of their own analytics. Do you add to those, you know, through your own services, or do you just kind of package the Facebook's ones and, you know, kind of simplify them for the user?
You got it. So what we try to do is, again, this is really technical and it gets really difficult, and you can drill down in every single way and tear them apart and try to analyze them. But for our users, again, they should be spending the time doing what they're good at. So we've really pulled out the bite-sized pieces, the most pertinent information that, you know, in a quick glance, they can understand what their campaign's doing. But, you know, for people who do want to drill in and get into each of those little nooks and crannies of it, we do offer all the full statistics, you know, through Facebook, through Instagram, or a combined view for them, whatever's easiest,
Right.
so they can get and see each and every one of those aspects.
All right. So, you know, and I think a lot of small businesses out there, one thing that they kind of do is, you know, they get their product, they get their website up, you know, they try to get all their ducks in a row before they start advertising, especially on social media. But, you know, sometimes you get put in a situation where you never think that all of your ducks are enough in a row that you don't really get started. So, you know, are there any companies that are not equipped to advertise? Like, at what point should someone kind of look into it, or are there certain things that businesses need to start advertising on Facebook?
For us, all they really need is a Facebook page. So we can do things that drive traffic to their Facebook page, and then can go further from there. The fact is, sending traffic to your Facebook page is not a bad thing. You're now building a community where they're part of, you know, what you're doing. You can show them more content. You can drive them to your website at a later time. So we can start with as little as that. Getting more complicated, we can take, you know, having a landing page, having specific product pages, and driving traffic to a sales funnel is a better way for long-term success and showing conversion. So as little as a Facebook page, but as much as the most sophisticated users can get out there, we can handle all those from, you know, front to end. I
gotcha. So yeah, I think we can squeeze a couple more questions in here. We might have to ask you to stay over just for a minute, but yeah. So you know, the next question we have here is, what are the benefits of using needles to market on social media versus going directly through social media? And I think we've covered that, you know, a number of times, because, you know, I've experienced this myself. It's complicated, and I'm sure if you are an advertising agency, I'm sure if you are a needles, or if you went to college and you have a degree in this, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of really, really cool tools that you can utilize through Facebook, but it gets heady. You know, I do technology for a living, and, you know, the amount of options and choices and, you know, things that they were throwing at me, it made my head spin. It was crazy.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what we do. We're not saying that you know, we've built all of our own tools and what they do isn't good. A lot of what we do, 50% or more of what we do, is using the tools that are provided to us through the, you know, through the networks and the platforms. We're just using them at the right times and the right ways, and things that you shouldn't, as a small business, have any business of having knowledge in. So we're with you. We understand that there's a problem. We really believe that this isn't a need or a want, but this is more of a desperate need to a huge market. And the more we can help put, you know, more customers, aka dollars, into these small businesses' pockets, brings more to the community, more jobs are created, more taxes are created, social services are benefit from it. It's a win-win-win across the board for everybody, the better job we do for our users, which is what we're focused on 100% of the time, just translates back to even more success for us as a company. So we're really proud of what's going on with that.
Absolutely, and trust us here at Computer America. We are also advertiser supported, and convincing people that you need to advertise. It's very important for your business. It's half the job. So, nope. Hey, everyone. Music means we have to take a break. We'll be right back, and really, we only have one more kind of thing to really get at, Justin. And when we come back, if you could talk about what makes a successful campaign and what makes a small business successful for advertising on social media. So. We'll get back to that with Justin Hartzman from Needles. He is the CEO. Everyone, we'll be right back. Computer America just after this.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour, and if you're just joining us, where have you been? Welcome into the Computer America Show. If you missed any part of today's show, please feel free to check us out at computeramerica.com, where you can find the audio, video, and podcast, where we're on most major networks. So, continuing on with us just for a little bit is Justin Hartzman. He is the CEO of Needles, and that's right, we're going to wrap this up, but I guess one huge important thing, I guess, obviously you are the CEO. Obviously, you probably have heard testimonials. You've probably talked to a lot of people who've used your service, and, that's very, very valuable. So I was, going to ask you, what kind of breeds success using Needles, using social media advertising? I mean, what would you kind of recommend to our listeners out there if they wanted to start advertising on social media?
Yeah, no, it's a very simple answer for me. I say it a lot: kitty cats and butterflies. Make it look organic. Make it look interesting, that people want something that they would normally see there, and create a good offer for people. Show them that you care, and that you're bringing them something of really good value. And I'd have to say, and it's something that we preach a lot of, and we teach a lot, and when we do webinars and we go and help educate the community when they ask questions, it's really important to understand that it's not a magic bullet, and you can't take $500 on one day and turn it into $20,000 the next day by advertising. It takes testing, it takes effort, and you have to allow for that. So either you have the knowledge to go out there and do that yourself and create all the pieces to that puzzle, or you have to allow a robo agency like ourselves to go through its process, and that's a 4-week process to get you to a really profitable, long-term, sustainable campaign. So you'll be investing a little bit to get for a long-term return on it. It's not an overnight thing, and that's the biggest piece of advice I can give anyone, because unreal expectations will lead to loss of investment and just not getting to the place where you need to be and getting you to a profitable campaign.
Makes sense. So I actually, before we say goodbye, let's talk about the actual process. How much does it cost if people wanted to kind of sign up for it? Obviously, needles.com, Needls, and yes, I do want to know why you dropped the E off the end. But if people wanted to give this a shot, how much is it, and where do they go?
Yep. Okay. Quickly. Needles comes from two things. We are searching for people's needs within social media, and we call that searching for the needles in the social haystack. So the word works for us, the domain talked to us, and it was brandable. So that's where it came from. You can go to needles.com, speak to our user success managers. As you said, they're there on chat from 9 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single day. We'll be going to 24 hours shortly. They're there to help you. They'll walk you through each step. They're trained professionals in copywriting to ensure that you make the best campaign. It's $100 a month for the service. Then you choose the budget that you want, and of that budget, we take a 10% cut of it, which is a typical agency play on that. So it's $100 plus 10% of your ad budget. And if you go and you guys mention Computer America, I'll let the team know that to offer you a coupon. We'll give you a coupon. The coupon will be. Yeah.
We'll definitely talk about that after the show, and we'll come back to our audience with it. But
Okay.
but yeah, no problem. And thank you so much. So yeah, again, we have a link to this at computeramerica.com directly to your website. And I just want to say that this has been real eye-opening because again, this is something that I've personally experienced. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it was very interesting to hear that there was its own business was able to spring up from a bit from an application to make businesses kind of easier to do. So this is very, very interesting. So Justin, thank you so much, and please come on back to Computer America when when you come out with something new or in a couple of months. Let us know how it's going.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time you spent with me today. It was a real pleasure. And everyone give it a try. We're happy to help. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. So everyone, one last time, Needls, NEEDLS.com. Check them out. And yeah, it may just be what you're looking for. Trust me, when he said lots of levers to pull, yeah, lots of levers to pull. So there he goes. And we are just about done with the first interview, but before we shift things over to, well, computer and technology news, a few things that we should mention, including, well, social media. And I'm actually going to stall by talking to you in a very monotone voice as we head on over to our application, and we're going to draw a winner as we speak. So this is for our contest. Logitech give away a prize every single I'm about to say month. No, every single week. Very, very cool. And we're going to draw one winner, and we're going to draw them right now. And the winner is, dun, 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 dun. The winner is, wait, actually, I have something for this. Beautiful. This week's winner is Miss Riley Auckland. And I apologize if I butchered that, but Auckland, Riley Auckland, thank you for listening to Computer America. Thank you for entering. She follows us on YouTube, of all places. Check that out. Listen to us in Houston, Texas. And Riley, yeah, we're going to be contacting you here shortly after the program. Get your prize out to you. Logitech will be contacting you, and we will, have it sent out before you know it. So if you want to be like Riley, well, all you have to do, head on over to computeramerica.com, enter the contest, and, well, there's like 8 different ways to enter, and we could be calling your name here shortly. All right, so there we have that, and now we have time for computer and technology news. And this is where we go through, find, all the different stories that we didn't get a chance to cover, either today, yesterday, what have you. We have a couple from the past couple days that I really wanted to get to, and yeah, just haven't had a chance because our interviews have been so entertaining that we've been, we always try to err on the side of interviews, over news, but news is also equally important. So how about we do, all right, let's do the Samsung TV one, and we'll queue up this one as well. So everyone, you again watch the video portion. We follow the articles as we go along with them, but here, actually, computer technology news brought to you by Computer America. So our first story is Samsung, and this one came from a couple days ago, but I really, really, really want to get to it because I know that this is not the TV that you're going to walk into, any of the retailers and pick up. This is something that will probably sell 100 units worldwide and never otherwise make it out of show floors. But it does show you where the technology is going, because what cost, get this, $20,000 today is going to cost $3,000, in next year, or or in a couple months it will cost $5,000. It's, prices of technology certainly go down, and these very, very high ends are simply showing you, what is possible. So here we go. This one from Engadget, and Samsung's giant 4K Q LED TV, not even OLED, QLED, costs 20 grand, where the 88-inch Q9 is the largest QLED model so far. And again, we have a picture of it up on the video portion, but if you can't imagine it, imagine a thin TV that's 88 inches diagonal, and it costs $20,000. Bam! There you go. You now know what this TV looks like. It is pretty darn good. So, and there's always trouble and, things that happen when you photograph televisions, but suffice to say, it's, very, very slim bezel. The stands are actually two, kind of looks like the end of a mag light, two little rolly pins. Those are the TV stands, but regardless, nice looking TV. So they said that this TV costs a fortune if you really want the biggest, best model available, where case in point is the Samsung Q9, which is the top end QLED. And at 88 inches, the 4K model is now Samsung's largest QLED screen. And we now know that you'll pay $20,000 for the privilege. Of course, if you just want a measly, if you want to, I don't know, maybe for your kid, maybe for a budget option, something like that. If you just want the 75-inch, well, it comes in at a very, very unreasonable $9,000. Man. So, saying that the cheapest model, the 55-inch, runs at $2,500. So 55-inch, I think that's what more people are used to. That's about the average size for a television, and that's still $2,500. So the Q in the QLED stands for quantum. So it's the quantum dot LED technology, and just by virtue of having that technology in it, you're already looking at something that's 5 times the price of a traditional LED. And this is more so expensive than OLED technology. So, for your dollars, you get 88 inches of ultra high definition, so 4K resolution, and 10-bit HDR, no Dolby Vision. So Dolby Vision for high dynamic range is the, that's the one that you want. Dolby Vision is a better technology. It is slowly replacing HDR10, but hey, both are still a massive step up from not having it. 240 hertz refresh rate, Wi-Fi direct, Bluetooth, blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's just a smart TV as well. So, like others in the Q series, it has a very thin, almost no bezel, and features a no-gap wall mount thanks to the 1.8 millimeter transparent optical cable. And by that, I think it's a cable that kind of sits up flush. It sits up flush. It's this kind of plastic polymer kind of deal. It's not a black cord. It's more see-through or transparent. And yeah, 1.88 millimeters. Not too bad. So the technology behind the QLED, which uses layer metalled quantum dots placed in front of an LED backlit panel, each emit an individual hue from a palette of 1 billion different colors. And we've talked about quantum dot technology. It's been around since the 90s. It's only recently started to see some action. And it's kind of an alternative to OLED. So they're saying that, and the article continues saying that considering how good AMOLED or AMOLED smartphone displays are, it's surprising that Samsung never really got into OLED TVs. Instead, it came up with QLED, which is a completely different technology, which it is. We talk about organic light emitting diodes, OLED all the time. They do look great. They do look gorgeous. But at the same time, QLED, it has its own set of benefits as well. So Samsung also claims that its QLED can sets can cover 100% of the HDR color space, while OLED can't quite do that yet. So it's an impressive technology. There are trade-offs, but QLED certainly has a place, and it's good to see that they are, trying to find it. So they said that, however, reviewers far prefer OLED sets and even high-end LEDs over the QLED models, saying that there's no getting around it. Samsung is asking you to pay top shelf price for a second-rate screen technology, which can never go ahead with LG's OLED or a full array backlit LED TV from Sony or Panasonic. Ouch. Yeah, so that was a review. Obviously, the only way you're going to know this is if you go and check it out yourself in a store, see it for yourself. But at the same time, I think $20,000 still isn't going, still just puts it way out of reach for, the average television buyer. So, man, these stores. So, let's jump ahead to some of the news stories from yesterday that we didn't get to. And, all right, here's one. This one is still developing. I'm sure there have been developments from when we first had a chance to look at it yesterday. And this one is pretty interesting because we talked about the WannaCry ransomware attack. We had a lot of people on the show talking about it. We talked about how it was solved, and it was a gentleman. MalwareTech was his username. He was posted all over, by the media. And in a sense, his identity was compromised by the media, and since then has become a bit of a celebrity in certain fields. And one of those fields is obviously hacking. Well, we talked about Defcon just Monday. We had David Perry on the show talking about, live from Defcon, talking about what they had there, what they were doing, and you can go back and check that out. But guess who else was at Defcon? That's right. The security researcher, MalwareTech. And a thing happened. A thing happened with him that I'm sure the article has a few more, updates on it, and we're certainly going to get to those. But he kind of, sort of flew over from the UK and was attending Defcon because, hey, he's a pretty famous hacker at this point. I'm sure he was invited by a number of different organizations, but he was picked up in the middle of the convention by the FBI. Yeah, not the people you want to be picked up by. And really, this was without a word, without a warning. They, drove in, put him in cuffs, threw him in the back of a van, and have since driven him away to who knows where. And all on the, so far what we know is, reporters and people doing legwork, trying to find any kind of connection that he would have to the FBI, any kind of reason that he would be picked up by the FBI, because let's face it, his main notoriety to a lot of the public is the fact that he is MalwareTech, the person who stopped the WannaCry ransomware that uncrippled the National Health Services in the UK. Well, the FBI, I've seen one report that the FBI had an active warrant on him because he was connected to a Trojan banking software hack that was unfortunately, supposedly he is named as the person behind the attack. And I'm not saying that it's completely impossible. Like, it's not like they picked up a dairy farmer and said that this is the person behind this Trojan banking software back in 2015. No, this is his field, and hackers have been known to, sway from black hat to white hat to gray hat. It's, it's part of the trade. So, yeah, he was picked up, and this article coming from Motherboard, you can find it in the, in the show notes. But they say that he was arrested for allegedly creating the Kronos banking malware. That's right. And Motherboard verified that a detainee called Marcus Hutchins was being held at the Henderson Detention Center in Nevada on early Thursday. And a few hours after, Hutchins was moved to another facility, according to a close personal friend. So the friend told Motherboard that they tried to visit him as soon as the detention center opened, but he had already been transferred out. And they said that he spoke to the U.S. Marshal, and he said that, they don't know why he was taken or for what reason, because the U.S. Marshals, this was not their arrest. This was not he, drove drunk and was thrown into a drunk locker or a drunk tank. No, this was done by the FBI, so the local authorities have no idea what it's about. And so, yeah, they said shortly before his arrest, Hutchins was last seen during the Black Hat and Defcon in Las Vegas, saying that we are aware a UK national has been arrested, but it's a matter for the authorities in the United States. And that was a spokesperson for the UK's National Crime Agency told Motherboard. And they said that we are aware of the situation. This is a law enforcement matter, and it would be inappropriate to comment further. So it sounds like UK is has been made aware of why he was arrested, and they're not really doing anything. Because, that's another big thing, is that there seems to be a lot of hubbub brewing online about the idea that you could be a foreign national, where you should be, given a certain amount of leeway because you are not a citizen of the United States, and any kind of justice, carried out, especially while you were overseas, should be carried out by your home nation's justice system. Instead, they're picked up by the U.S., and the UK doesn't really seem to, too torn up about it. So the big online controversy is the fact that, the U.S. is, they're saying, scaring off a lot of talent. There's a lot of people who see this man as not necessarily a hero, but someone who did something really, really good and should be given a good amount of leeway. And for him to be picked up like this, to thrown into prison, to be picked up by the FBI, and really just kind of unceremoniously thrown into the justice system here in the United States after what he did, after he saved millions of dollars, potentially thousands of lives, and, really saved the nation from what had happened. It seems like a good way to make sure no one else comes to the United States to offer their expertise ever again. There are others who have the mind that, he is cited by name in the court papers for the Kronos malware. And it could have just been the first opportunity that this gentleman was in the United States. And, when you have an active warrant against you, when you actively created, some malware that attacked financial institutions, first chance, they're going to jump at you. They're going to jump at you, and they're going to throw you in the back of a van. Probably not the wisest move to come to the United States if you had something like that on your trail. Of course, we'll hear more about this. Unfortunately, there were no other, there are no other updates. The FBI is doing what FBI could. I mean, the FBI doesn't just make random arrests. I'm sure they've made mistakes in the past, but by and large, they're a very, they're a very precise organization. And if they took him into custody, there's they probably have a pretty good case built up against him already. So there you have it. And, there's further speculation going on. There's further speculation going on as to whether he actually had a hand with the malware that he stopped. Potentially he was the one who, designed it, knew the kill switch, and it unfortunately got away from him and, went somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. I mean, one part of the speculation is the fact that the Bitcoin wallets associated with the, associated with the account were emptied the day before he was arrested. So, there's a couple different things. We'll hear more about it, but suffice to say, I think this is about as close to a spy thriller as you get in the technology world. So, all right. We'll definitely see what happens. So let's see. Let's pick up this next story and all right. How about we do? And sorry, yeah, we have so many. I'm just kind of getting lost. Here we go. This is one that I really wanted to do, and it outlines the danger of artificial intelligence and really just shoddy apps. So here, this one coming from The Verge, and this is actually coming from a couple days ago, but a potentially deadly mushroom identifying app highlights the dangers of bad artificial intelligence. And bad not in the sort that AI is out to get you kind of bad, but bad as in bad utilization of the technology. And this coming from James Vincent from, again, The Verge, and saying that the app's creators say it's just a guide, but experts aren't happy. So they're saying that there's a saying in the mushroom picking community that all mushrooms are edible, but some are only edible once. And, when you talk about mushrooms, some give you, that euphoric sense. Some are tasty, and some are, well, yeah, you'll die. And so that's why there's a lot of, worry about this, is because if you aren't absolutely certain about what kind of mushroom you're about to put in your mouth, things can go very, very poorly for you. And they said that they have a new revolutionary AI to identify mushrooms with a single picture. And mycologists and fungi foragers are worried. They called it potentially deadly and said that if people used it to try and identify edible mushrooms, they could end up very sick or even dead. Where part of the problem is a mushroom forager with a PhD in microbiology explains is that you can't identify a mushroom just by looking at it. Saying that the most common mushroom near me is something called a yellow stainer, and it looks just like an edible horse mushroom from above and the side. But if you eat a yellow stainer, there's a chance you'll be violently ill or even in the hospital. Saying that you need to pick it up and scratch it or smell it to actually tell what it is. It will bruise bright yellow or it will smell carbolic. I don't even know what carbolic means. So, yeah. So, obviously not all mushrooms are created equal. And they're saying that this is just one example. There are plenty of edible mushrooms with toxic lookalikes. And when identifying them, you need to study multiple angles to find features like gills and rings, while considering that there are other things like recent rainfall might have discolored the cap, or if it hasn't. So yeah, a lot of little features, and this is obviously something that takes a bit of expertise, and trusting everything to a smartphone where it can only go off of imperfect information, not the best choice. And saying that 1/8 of a death cap can kill you. Death cap being one of the deadliest mushrooms out there. But the worst part is you'll feel sick for a while, then you might feel better and get on with your day, but then your organs will start failing. Really not good. That does sound horrible. And yeah, they said that at The Verge, they tried it out themselves, and they have the app. They have a common, they said that they have a common chestnut mushroom in good lighting, and it still couldn't identify this one. So, long story short, this is the danger of artificial intelligence. It should not be taken as gospel. It should not be taken as the end-all be-all of mushroom identification. In fact, it should, the authors of the app only call it a tool, a guide, and not to be taken as absolute. And, the PhD researcher who knew you could major in mushrooms said that he was enthralled by the idea of it. He would love to be able to go into the field and point my phone at a mushroom and find out what it is. But I would want quite a lot of convincing that it would be able to work. And so far, as the author said, as the PhD student said, it's not there yet. It's not proven to work. So if you're using your smartphone to determine what mushroom to eat, well, be careful. Although you might have some things going on in your life that, maybe a smartphone,
90 seconds.
mushroom identifying application is the least of your problems. But there we have it, Computer America, just about done. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for joining us here on Computer America. And I want to say thank you one more time to Needles. They were our interview. If you missed them, hey, check them out, Computer America. It was a really good interview. And I want to send a thank you to Riley Ockelin. who was this week's social media
60
winner.
seconds.
There you have it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to catch us Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, every single weekday. Everyone, have a great weekend. Stay cool. Don't eat mushrooms. Don't use your smartphone to identify those mushrooms. And yeah, catch you next week. Bye, everyone.
Ten seconds.